Hello, 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 podcast listeners, blog readers, and YouTube watchers. This is a hybrid video. This video is going to be living on YouTube. I'm going to add it to the podcast. This is property analysis overview number 1 that we're making public. Let me take a drink of my coffee. It's almost June, time for iced coffee. So this property, it's an awesome property. Great deer location, just overall great location. I want to go over here why I hammer home the point of access so hard. Is because when you sit back and you look at this property, this is the way they access all their stands. Okay, I've gotten to a point now where I use Onyx here, and I'll go and I'll either walk and put the tracker on Onyx and walk to all my stands, or ride a 4-wheeler, UTV, whatever, or I just know how I access them, and that's how we made this too. He remembered how he accessed all of them. Look at, if we use the idea that your scent gets blown at least 100 yards downwind with a north wind, this is how much area gets affected by you accessing this stand. That's a lot. That whole ditch is ruined, right? And I think the reason why scent doesn't, or access doesn't get talked about enough, is because we often always think about what we're doing in the stand. We're throwing milkweed out. We're figuring out what the wind's doing while we're in the stand, while like the area that we're actually soaking with our scent. No, we're not soaking this area with your scent. You're walking through. I would advise, if you have to access something like this, walk as quickly and swiftly as you can and make it dark, or hopefully there's nothing in there. But it gets left behind because it takes extra effort, and there's a million reasons why access doesn't get put on the forefront like it should. And then we look at like one of their better stands. This stand 2. So I was just describing stand 1 on the graph. Stand 2 up on the hill here. I mean, look at their access to this. Just, you can't do it. You can't do it. This is a north wind. You're just ruining it. There's just no chance. You don't have a chance. Like, we have a hard enough time killing deer, right? We do. It's not an easy thing, especially mature deer. And like, do we want the deer to be living on our property? Because let's go through all of them. Like, look at that. That's access to that stand, to stand 2. It is a almost 14 acre disturbance. You walk in, your scent blows downwind 100 yards, and you're ruining 14 of the 60 acres that you hunt. Granted, is it the acres that have the most? Probably not, but it's still quite a bit. So then you add in, going back to this stand 4. Well, that covers pretty much the other areas that you didn't cover on your access to stand 2. So there's another 4 acres. All right, so let's access stand 3. And the first access to stand 1 was about 7 acres of disbursement. This one, since you're back there, it's not as bad, but it's going to be another probably, what, couple acres? Yeah, 2 acres. So we have 20 acres of scent disbursement throughout the year if you access all 4 of these stands. Okay, so that's 1/3 of your property. That's how we come up with the percentage that we were using. So huntable acres, you're not hunting this house, and really they don't hunt this field, which we might change. But you got about 60 huntable acres, 22 acres disturbed if you access all these places throughout the year. The property intrusion rate is 34%. Now let's consider this. So this is like your one area where you're not disturbing. But it's a big hill that's overlooking these two areas. Like these stands are in ditches, which is a no-no for scent anyways. But then this is a big point. Anything bedded on here has got you here. Anything's bedded on here has got you here. Anything bedded right here has got you here. So we're looking at like, if a buck's living on your property, we're considering the fact if a buck is living on your property, right? They got you. So if anything's bedded in here, at some point, if you're accessing at the wrong time, you hunt a morning sit back here and you leave mid-morning, a buck has got you. Add 11 more acres to that. Now we're getting into like 30, 40 acres of disturbance. That's over half the property. I mean, that's that. And look at where they can go. Look at this giant woodlot here. Look at this giant woodlot here. Look at this giant woodlot here. Like they're not going to hang out here if they're feeling pressure. So I'm not trying to be a dick to these guys either. I know them really well. So I did the same things. We all do the same things. They literally access like this because that's the way the trail's cut. So another reason why these things, like when you do these zigzags back and forth, because they kind of just go along with how trails are cut and how the topo lines go. Well, that's how deer move too. So deer are moving, and you take a zoom out here. Deer are moving along these topo lines, right? East to west, east to west. They most of the time they're coming onto your property and leaving the property, moving east to west. And a lot of the access here is, like look at the access to stand 1, east to west. Look at the access to stand 2, east to west, back east to west. Like Jesus, you just anything coming through here has got you, even if you get to the stand. And nothing's going to come out of, nothing's coming from the west to stand 2 because they're going to get down to the little area that they take a right turn, and they're not coming up to the stand. You know what I'm saying? So, and we're not even getting to the point with these two stands that are in the stand 3 and 4 that are in ditches that, I mean, while you're on stand, your wind is doing, you don't have control over what your wind's doing, so it's not going to be a good time anyways. So, enough beating on it. I think you guys get it. Access is an issue here. So stand 1, it's not the worst access. You're probably not going to have the most deer down here in the southern part of that river, creek bottom there. You know, access to stand 2 is just terrible. I think it ruins the whole property. And then 3 and 4, in my eyes, I mean, that's not even a huntable situation. Ditch stand, nothing about it's huntable. So we're scrapping it all. And we came up with a solution. So in the current method of hunting, they walk, access, and the reason why I bring up the amount of yards they walk to access, because a lot of times people access these things because it's easier, quicker, and it really comes down to the fact that it's just because that's the trail, that's where it's at. I mean, they're walking, if they went to all these stands, it'd be 1,600 yards of walking. And that's not even counting like that's counting all these lines just once, right? So I just counted like your access point to like that western part where there's 3 kind of access areas to combined. I counted that line once, so it's really more than that. But 1,600 walking areas, almost a mile of walking. So is it really that much easier? Is it less walking? I don't think so. And the disturbed areas is 22. Like I said, we can get even further than that. So their property intrusion rate, or PIR, is 34%. And I think it's higher because if you get into these hillsides and visual intrusion rate, it's going to be higher. But I don't include that on these virtual type consults. So we're not going to add that to the chart here. Let me get rid of these because I have OCD. All right, so let's go to the plan. Boom, boom, bang, boom. All right, what do you see on the new plan? People listening to the podcast, take a look at the new plan on the blog. The new proposed method of hunting. Yards of walking access is almost, well, 400 or 500 yards less, just under 1,200 yards, 1,150. So we're actually walking less. Wouldn't think it, right? Disturbed acres turn from 22 to 7 while accessing with a north wind, and your PIR or property intrusion rate is down to 10%. That is what I am talking about. That is what I'm talking about. That is awesome. Not to mention they're making really clear, we're going to make really clear ideas on where to go or not to go now. So like the general just intrusion of the property is going to be way down. So let's get into the why or the how or whatever, why we wrote this up the way we did. Need to find the, all right. So let's start with stand one. Let's start with just the western fence line. So the western fence line is a wooded area. I would like it to be pushed in, a little bit from the fence line, but I think we want to use, for visual purposes, I want to use this wooded kind of brushy fence line to our advantage. And I think he had said that there's actually kind of a trail in there already, so which is perfect. Plus up in, you get a little bit northern to that, if you get to food plot 2, the second food plot, if you're going from south to north, in the middle there, that's actually a pasture to the west, which is awesome. So we'll use that to our advantage to blow the wind out into that. Hopefully, hopefully we'll have cattle in there too, which is even better too, because it'll make an even better pinch in between the second food plot and the third food plot, which is why those two food plots are there. That third food plot to the north, I'd like them to push down to the south as much as you can, because we want to make that pinch in between those two food plots as tight as we can. And that stand, which is labeled as stand 4, is probably going to be the money stand. That's going to be your rut stand. That's going to be the freaking, I would put money on that stand. I put money on that stand. I put money on stand 2. I'll break down stand 2 in a second though. Stand 3, I think, is more of a box blind. They can get away with hunting it more, get it on this nice food plot. They can access from south to north along this fence row, and they can pop up into the box blind, because you can see here this is kind of a steep incline here, so they might be able to just crawl up the hill, pop into this box blind, actually hunt this, which that might be a killer spot through the year, and you can probably get away with hunting it a little bit more often. Stand 1, that's another one you can hunt. Afternoon sits, calm, make sure the wind's blowing back towards the road, let the creek do what it does with thermals. That should be a good spot too. That's actually where Jeffrey killed his buck last year. We call it the mistake buck. Didn't know what it was. 2-year-old, maybe 3. No, it's not big. We can make fun of them. I won't make, if you are listening to this and you're considering, getting a hold of us and having us do this, I'm seriously just being hard on him because we're buddies, and family. So I don't actually make fun of people that hire us. And actually, these digital consults right now are free, so you're not even hiring us. Yeah, where was I at? So, yeah, these access corridors are really important. Get in here with a chainsaw. I think they have access to maybe a bulldozer or some excavation equipment. And when we do these plans, if you need help, if you're to the point where you want to invest, into the property management side of stuff, we also do that. We help people with that. We have people with bulldozers. We have people with skid loaders. It's obviously more of a financial commitment. I don't think that they want to make that right now, but I think they actually have access to people, that family members or something they can borrow from. So, but even if they didn't, coming in here and just chainsaw enough to clear enough for a UTV or just for you to walk, is all you need. It's about as much work as you want to put in. That's what I told them. I was like, you guys can keep accessing like that. I mean, don't let me ruin the way you hunt. Don't let me ruin how you hunt. I'm just saying. I mean, nothing's going to be consistent doing this. Not if you want to hunt consistently. And then this takes more work because you got to go in and make these lanes. Like this is going to be a suck. The east side of the property making those access lanes. Not going to be fun. Steep ass hill. So let me jump over to the east end. If you're looking at the map, stand 2. See that access point. This is, as you notice, that where that A is, that waypoint. This is the only stand that you access from that point now. Before, every single time they hunted, they came out of this field corner. Well, guess what bucks do? They bed up on these hills, and they keep an eye on the best human intrusion spot if they feel it. So if a buck's bedded right here, right, and you don't have any screen cover here or nothing, you come waltzing out into this field. Not to mention there's a house here, so they're probably watching it anyways. They got you. They got you patterned. So a buck's bedded right here, watches you come in here. You don't know that you spooked him. He just is going to slip back. He's gone. He's back in this ditch. Look at this woods that he can go into. They're gone. You're not seeing them. So, because they're conditioned to know the difference between if you're riding around a 4-wheeler or a tractor to you walking in. Like there's a difference between that. Especially if you're slowly walking in, you walk up to here, like that thing's gone. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to see it. Nothing. So, and looking at a north wind, like your disbursement of wind is just, I mean, nothing. We're at 10% now, 10%. So this whole northeast corner is going to be pretty much a sanctuary. They're never going to touch it. Well, that's my advice. I don't know if they will or not, but I wouldn't. So the question is, you have 2 people who bow hunt. You have 5 people who gun hunt. All right. So I made 5 stands. I mean, everyone can, as long as, I know gun hunting's just everything is crazy. Hopefully you get a north wind. You're not going to be like, oh, you guys can't hunt if you have a south wind. I understand that. But there's 5 stands here, 5 places that people can safely get in, get out. You hang the stands. Those are the spots. Not to mention they have kind of like a shooting shack down in this lower southern field that like gun hunt out of. That's fine. So I don't think the whole we have a bunch of different people that come into gun hunt and it ruins all of our plans should deter at least the 2 bow hunters from practicing this all year, because we know the money time. You can get it done in October. You can get it done in first couple weeks of November. Hunt like this. All right. I don't know if there's much more to go over on this, but let's go and take a look at the Google Earth because it's awesome. If you're on a podcast, I'll kind of describe this topography better here. Or just go over to the blog and click play on the video. So as you can see, we have a really steep hill off to the east. This is kind of where that rock is, that steep hill face. These the 3 food plots are all placed, or the first food plot and the second food plot, or third food plot. So the most southern food plot and the most northern food plot are placed in the bottoms. That southern food plot can be hunted over because you're in that bottom, you're in that creek bottom with it. I feel confident that if the thermals are taken, you're sent down that creek, you should be safe for the most part. This northern food plot is not something that you hunt over. The stand that I placed is up on this knob. So you just got that higher point. So you got the pinch of the inside corner from the neighbors. You have a pinch coming down this side of we're looking at the northern food plot. If you're on the podcast, take a look at the northern food plot where that stand is. It's up in the corner. And the reason is because it's forming a pinch that goes north to south. okay? And it has a pinch that goes east to west, high side, catching that inside corner movement from the ag field on the neighbors to the west. Hope that makes sense. On the mat or on this video, it should. So deer are going to be moving along this edge, right, of the neighbor's field, and it's an inside corner. So once they come to here, they kind of go either down this way, they'll probably, there's a trail that goes straight, maybe they take it back up, maybe they wrap this point and go back up this way, whatever it is. Usually there's a bunch of lines of movement that work off an inside corner, usually 3 at least. One to the right, one to the left, one straight ahead. So the nice thing about this place is you have a food plot right here, so they're not going to, deer just don't walk through food plots for the most part, especially mature bucks. So now you got another pinch. If he goes south from the inside corner, boom, right into this pinch. Or if he's coming from south to north and he's coming up out of this knob and you're up in this high point on a rut sit, he's going to come up right to you. Boom. Wind's blowing out over into this ag field, you're good. You're good. Now stand 4 is what I'm most excited about, because stand 4 is going to be on this spine. So look at stand 2. If you're on the podcast, look at stand 2, which is like right here. And notice that spine that runs straight east to west. And there's a really good, so this is a high point, but it's kind of like the bottom of the spine, but still higher than like this, and it's still higher than the northern food plot and everything like that. So if you can get a stand on this higher ground, that's a really good pinch. That's a really good pinch. Let's do a little rotation on the old Google Earth. See, I would suspect it to be like right here. Right here would be a good spot. So if you're on the podcast, the middle food plot. So actually, the marker that I have on that map right now is probably, I don't know, it could be all right to the north, but it's either going to be, there's a little ditch that runs in between those two food plots. So you got to get on the high side of either the north or the south of that ditch, and that'd be a game changer. That's gonna be a great spot. My God, I love that spot. And then finally, we're looking at stand 3 now, and that's going to be, you access in along this fence line from the south and north, and you pop in up the hill, because you can actually see the hill. It's a pretty good hill here, and you just pop into the corner, hopefully get a box blind in there or something. And then as you can see here, when we're looking at Google Earth for podcasters, we're looking at stand 2 now, where the rock, we got this steep decline that's heading from east to west. There's a steep decline where that stand is located. That's actually a rock cliff, so that's a great pinch. And they come back out of those valleys behind to the northeast and to the southeast, and then they'll come straight up this spine. So that center spine that goes from stand 2 to stand 3 and stand 4, that's going to be that just seems to be where they've had the most luck over the years, and that's going to be where your majority of your movement is, and that's the most huntable area at the farm. This area back in here, let it live. Just let it live. Let them have their space. They can have places on the property that you don't bother them, that you aren't trying to kill them, right? We can all agree. Just like your wife, there's times when you just want to be alone. It's probably for the best. Leave the deer alone back in here. Northeast corner, leave them alone. Let them live. Let them be free. Catch them when they're making a mistake. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. If you got any questions, if you're watching this video, head over to our website. If you're listening to this podcast, head over to our website. And if you want one of these virtual digital consults, there's no pressure. You don't have to do what we tell you. We're kind of forming some theories and thoughts on how we hunt and how we set up properties anyways. So right now we're doing it for free. I just want to see I mean, I think they're common sense type strategies, so I don't think you're going to go wrong with it. The general framework is just like, let's cut down on pressure and let's set up better spots on the edges of the property. Right? Let's leave the center of our properties to the deer. So, but head over there. There's an application on a page on our site that you can apply, and as long as you own land and you can make changes to the, or not even own it, but if you can make changes to your property, I would love to take a look at your property along with our team and write up a little plan for you. No strings attached, my people. Alrighty, get out there. Get out there. It's almost June. Starting up.